Hello, I'm Professor John Obear, and I want to welcome you to the Spring 2023 class, Geography 300, Physical Geography. And I want to keep this as short as possible while still giving you some critical information so that you can be successful in the class. That is what I am all about. I truly, truly want you to find it interesting, to learn a lot, and to pass at least with a C, if not much better. Um, and so my goals today, as you watch this video, I'm going to show you a few slides and then I'm going to walk you briefly through Canvas because I have it set up maybe in a way that's different from other classes that you've seen in Canvas. Let me also say that I will be giving you digits to a code that you will need later. And this is my clever little way of hopefully making sure that you watch this video in its entirety. Each time I give you a digit, a letter, or a number, write it down. And by the end of this video, you'll have them all and you'll be able to move on. And I ask that you not share that with anybody else in the class. Um, but if you just ignore this video, then my worry is you're going to miss some key, critical, important things. So please keep that in mind. The first digit is the letter Z. The letter Z, all letters will be capital. So please write that down. Okay, I am going to share my screen. And here is just an opening slide that I do anytime I do orientations for this class. So hopefully you're in the right place, Geography 300. Um, and what are we going to do? You're going to meet me, find a little bit about me, take a brief look at the syllabus, and then the big deal is we're going to highlight some key Canvas things and resources. And then, of course, if you have questions in this video, I don't have a way for you to ask them, but email me questions, please. That is the best way to get answers for me and to get things cleared up. I will also be holding some live office hours routinely, and I will invite people to come in groups if you like, just to go over current events, go over issues in class, and of course, to answer any questions you might have. Okay, so why do I show you this? Well, I am hopefully you'll understand just a person like anybody else. Sometimes people are intimidated by their professors, so don't be intimidated by this cute little guy in the middle sitting there between my sisters. Um, and even worse is this guy at about 13. Yes, that's me in my beautiful brown leisure suit. What else would I want you to know about me? There's a lot of things if you poke around my web page and my Canvas page. There's all kinds of stuff you can find out about me. I like to say and remind my students that I am uh, hold the distinction of having taught every single grade from kindergarten all the way through grad school, each for at least one day. That is my claim to fame. There was a year that I was a substitute teacher and they let me teach anything, and that's where I got a lot of that experience. This is my family. I live over in Davis, California. Um, and one daughter is in high school. My other daughter is at university, and then my wife is a special education teacher in Woodland. And then I often like to share with my students a series of slides um, that just give you a sense of, people's interest and commitment to education. This is how these kids got to school. And this was about 10 years old. Nonetheless, when they spoke to this young woman who was leading this group, she said, well, we would have been late and might not have even been able to make it to school. And, this gives you an indication of how much they valued their education. I don't want anybody in my classes to risk their life to get an education. But I want you to ask yourself, how much is it worth to you? Here's a little guy in China who braved freezing cold weather, and you could look him up. The story is fascinating. This is a video, a documentary that is absolutely fascinating. If you have kids, to show them this video, it would be really interesting. And each kid has their own unique, interesting story. You can pause this and read these about how they got to school. And it is, as the cover there says, extraordinary. This young woman that's being pointed to here walked 20 miles twice a week with a friend through the mountains of northern Morocco to get to school. Carlito got to ride a horse. Jackson and his little sister walked 10 miles twice a day, having to worry about lions and cheetahs. Again, I don't want you to have to protect yourself from lions and cheetahs, but ask yourself, how do you value education? Um, I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the Little Rock Nine. It is an amazing, famous story. This is Elizabeth Eckford at 15. This was her first day at school. They had to call out the National Guard for her to be able to go to school. So again, as I've said, um, how and why am I telling you this? Because I want you to consider how much you personally value education. It is worth a lot. I'm going to give you, by the way, the second digit of the code. It is the letter, excuse me, the number 3. The number 3. Um, this I like to show to all of my students. It is updated as of 2021, so that's pretty recent. It is the average earnings and the average unemployment rate for different levels of education. And simply put, the more education you get under your belt, the more money you make and the easier it will be to get a job. That is something you can take to the bank literally and figuratively. So I'm not saying that everybody, has to have a bachelor's or a master's or whatever, but you should set yourself some goals and keep this in mind. More training, technical education, schooling. These are marketable skills and marketable qualities. We will talk more about the syllabus later, although there's a checklist, which you have already started if you're watching this video, that will walk you through a little bit of the syllabus. And so I'll show you some important things. The textbook, and I will show you where you can get the first couple of chapters free. I will show you where you can get information on checking it out from the American River College Library while supplies last. I don't really care what form or what edition you have, even if it's an older edition. This is the most recent 9th edition, as long as you have a book available to you called Elemental Geosystems. And I'm not going to be checking whether people have the book, but it is an incredibly important resource. Here is one of the older editions. Um, and so for the moment, that is all that I wanted to show you on that account. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Um, and I am now actually going to share a different screen. So let me switch this over. Okay, excellent. And this is the Canvas page where you should have been able, again, to access this. And so what are some of the points that I want to make here about your success and what you need to be successful in this class, and how I set up my Canvas page maybe a little bit differently. So one of the most important things that I want to say is that you access the important resources and activities and assignments through modules. So in some, you should be using hopefully a tablet or a laptop or a regular computer. Not if you're completing this class with just a phone, that is going to be an incredibly difficult struggle. But the menu will have modules somewhere near the top. Everything is under modules. I have disabled the link to assignments, disabled the link to quizzes, disabled the link to discussions, because I don't want you to try to go straight to quizzes, discussions, and assignments. I want you to do them in the order that things are provided in the modules, because you are given particular resources in a certain order. So please keep that in mind. That's incredibly important to remember. Um, and this first page, again, has a lot of other interesting, potentially useful information. You will see possibly a to-do list or tasks or coming up through the calendar when things are due. But again, sometimes one of the potential problems is you try to click on that and you haven't gone through modules. Um, if you try to click on something but you haven't completed the requirements leading up to that, Canvas won't let you in. So please, please keep that in mind. But again, you scroll down the page and there's information again about how to get a hold of me. I will update the office hours on this page. There's information if you want to know more about me personally. So this page has a lot of important stuff, but I would say modules is the critical thing. The other thing I'm going to say is that um, I will try weekly to update what you need to do uh, each week by putting a direct link here. And it will simply be a direct link into the modules. But some students, even if I feel I've given clear directions and a clear schedule and a clear calendar, some students get confused about what they're supposed to do. So any given week, whatever has been assigned for that week, I will try to put up here links, direct links to that. Um, some students say that, this is a self-paced class. It's not self-paced. I set the pace. Basically, I tell you every week what you need to get done by the end of that week. You set your schedule for that given week. So I set the pace, you set the schedule. That's how it works. Um, so um, generally things will be due late, late, late on a Sunday just before midnight. Not because I want you to work on a Sunday, but we have, well over 100 people in this class who are potentially all over the world, actually. Um, and everybody's going to be working at different times. So you work during any given week. Um, on a schedule that works for you. And if that means you're working on a Sunday evening, well, then that is your choice. If you need to work on a Tuesday morning, that is your choice. You need to put in about 10 hours a week, by the way, total. That is the average of what is expected for a 3-unit class. And you will also find out that when things are late, I have a pretty flexible policy on late assignments. Basically, you automatically get an extension, but it will cost you a small penalty, 5% per day. And these are on, very small assignments. So if you have, a 7-point assignment and you lose 10%, that is a fraction of a point. And so, and the penalty only accumulates to a 30% total penalty. So I'm not going to shave off more than 30 percentage points on any given late assignment. And I will accept assignments until basically the last day of class. It is mentioned in the syllabus. You can go see it. I don't encourage people. I don't want to be taken advantage of in regards to this policy, but I'm just trying to tell you up front. I want to be flexible and I want you to succeed and learn and pass this class. Okay, so having said that, I'm going to give you the next digit. It is the letter B as in boy, the letter B as in boy. And so let me go into modules and show you what I want to show you. So the first module is the one that you should be in because you're watching this video. It's this module here. Everything has to be done in order, which is almost always my policy. If you ever see the words complete all items, then it probably means that I have set it up so that you cannot move on to the next thing before you do the previous thing. Check-ins, we'll talk about these later. Syllabus, schedule, general information. Let me bring up the syllabus and you're going to read all of it. This is an online class. You need to devote some time to reading this. I'm going to make you pass a quiz to make sure that you've gone through this. But here is information about everything you need, when to get a hold of me. I will be on the ARC campus 2 days a week, but I will be available on Zoom for all of these other times. In fact, all of these times, and there's a Zoom link. So should be very easy to get hold of me. And so you can read through this. Here is what is required. And I've given you all sorts of information. Got to have access to Canvas, Gmail, using a Google Drive. So yeah, you read through this. Critical warning, as you can see, if you skip one of the four required homeworks, you will not be eligible to earn an A. So to get an A, you need to have 450 points, which is 90%. Um, and you need to have made sure to complete all homeworks. I'm just not going to give somebody an A if they're going to blow off one of the homeworks that I assigned for this class. And then anyway, more information, you do have to participate. I will be checking on your level of participation. There is an extra credit policy, read that. And then information on what the exams contain, quizzes, discussions, this is all laid out. So people invariably, students ask me questions that are answered here in the syllabus. Homework, there is a built-in extra credit policy within the homework, which says that if when you do the first, well, after doing the first four, I let you then do two more by picking from this list. And I give you options of different things to do because I want you to capitalize on your personal interests. Yeah. Um, and so they're worth 10 points apiece. Well, I let you earn up to 50 points, 50 out of 40, if you think about it, is a pretty darn good deal. I just don't give endless extra credit points. There's a lot of opportunity to succeed in my class, so I don't give unlimited extra credit points, but I do give targeted opportunities to earn extra credit. So it's explained here. There is a very generous late assignment policy. Please read that. We'll talk more about mandatory check-ins later, but I will expect you, and I will give you numerous different options on Zoom to attend a live meeting with me and other people. It'll be a group meeting to check in. And if you absolutely can't, there will be a written option, which will be much harder and lamer and not nearly as fun. Okay, lots of fine print. So read all this, including at the top, by the way, this note that says you should be scheduling approximately 10 hours a week of your time, and you should be setting aside specific times. Okay, so read all this, lots of good stuff. You can literally major in geography, get jobs related to geography. I'm happy. I write students letters of recommendation all the time for scholarships, for transfer, for grad school. I have a student now completing a PhD on the East Coast, just as one recent example. And then finally, there's an incredibly detailed schedule with literally with boxes provided so that you can check things off if you're somebody who does that type of thing. And there are map quizzes, those are on Canvas, or homework, those are on Canvas. You know, you can see this is a very detailed, clear set of expectations. There will be 4 exams, and they will be open for at least a couple of days. Generally, things are due on a Sunday, except when there's exam, and then I just kick it to a Monday so that everybody has longer to complete everything. Okay, so if you do have questions, you know, you should be probably writing these down, um, um, just so that you can keep track of them and ask them. I'm gonna back up a second. I'm gonna give you, by the way, the 4th digit in this code is the number 7, the number 7. And anyway, there's other information in here that you should read. Information about the textbook. Okay, so please go through this. There are free rentals at the library. The chapter 1 and chapter 2 as PDFs are literally available right here if you're slow to getting finding the textbook. So there's lots of interesting things here, useful things. If you find an older edition, the 8th edition of Elemental Geosystems, here are the pages you would read. The 7th edition, here are the pages you would read. And by the way, the pages are listed in the syllabus if you have the regular 9th edition. There's that. Module about careers in geography. And then, so finally, I wanted to get to this one right here. is this is if it looks like this and says something like Unit 1 Mod 1, or you see down here Unit 1 Mod 5. These are modules. I call them instructional modules, and they are basically like weekly lessons. Occasionally there are two in 1 week, but usually there's only one per week. Um, just like it says, you read this if you want to know how to use it, but I'm giving you the quick version. You literally have to go through everything in order. And sometimes there are very explicit things that you have to do. I do not make you use the click done procedure anywhere here. If it says view, that means you just got to look at it. So there are notes, lecture notes, which, by the way, you have digitally, but once you do the orientation, you will find out that you can actually come to my office at American River College and pick up actual printed lecture notes, which I think is incredibly useful. Um, so there's notes, my own lecture notes, and they're usually in two different formats, PDF and Microsoft Word. And so you see what they look like. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just want you to know there's all of my lecture notes. Um, and you go through in order. You have to view something in order to unlock the next thing. Okay. And then when you get to video lectures, that is the meat of the course. That is me going on about all these interesting things. Sometimes I make you stop and answer some questions in your head. And you do have to watch these all the way through. If you don't, you risk well, doing very poorly in the class. Um, After each page of video lectures is a page of video extras, and this is not required, but this is numerous videos that go into individual concepts in more depth. And I sometimes, at least 3 or 4 times during the class, I've snuck in here links to me telling stories. That is one of the things I do on the side. I am a storyteller, and so I tell some interesting stories about my life. In this case, I only sneak in stories that are actually relevant to that particular topic. So it's really up to you, but you will often find that those videos go into things in greater depth and are maybe make more sense than just the way that I went over it. So video lectures, video extras, then there's a quiz. You are required to get at least 60% on the quiz. And by the way, you have to average 60%. So if you just jump in and take it and do incredibly poorly, it will be hard to bump up your average. This is critical. Make sure to study, make sure to have your notes on hand before you take the quiz. And I'm going to tell you now, you have to average at least 60%. In this case, it's 3 out of 5. That's not really a great average. You should be doing better than that. But each time you take the quiz, it will grab different questions. It's a randomized quiz. And sometimes it'll grab the same question. Sometimes it'll, recycle the similar questions, but it's going to train your brain. So I let you take it multiple times. It is set to keep the average, and to unlock the discussion, which is the bigger assignment each week, you have to average at least 3 out of 5 or 6 out of 10 if it's a 10-question quiz. So these quizzes are incredibly important. You should take them multiple times in preparation for the exams. And then finally, it will unlock the discussions. And the discussions require that you make specific references to lecture notes, lecture videos, video extras in that module. You can't just talk about the course in general. You have to talk specifically about material that was contained in that module. So in this case, the example module is Unit 1, Module 1, Introduction. So what do I let you do? Well, some students don't like this. They just want to be asked simple questions like what's 2 plus 2, and then they want to go on and be done. I want you to approach it, in a way that works for you. So you can, Needs to be 3 sentences minimum, best college level writing. You can ask a detailed follow-up question. Try to explain why you're asking the question. Try to provide specifics and or make a detailed comment like, oh my gosh, I went camping 5 years ago and I saw this cloud that looked just like that, and give some detailed explanation. Um, Related to the information in that module, and or so you can do one of these, two of these, or all three of these. You don't have to do all three. Make a detailed connection to something else you have learned or experienced in your life. Okay, so 2 and 3 are different. Make By making a detailed comment, you might just say, oh, I found that weird or surprising or unusual, but then you're explaining exactly why it was surprising. Okay, you're giving details about why it was surprising or weird or unusual. And then again, in the third thing, this is where you make a connection to a camping trip or a movie or someplace you traveled. Virtually everything in this class can be related to something that people personally have experienced. So I will be going in and I will be grading based on whether you've done these things. If you simply list, this week I learned blank, you will maybe not even get any points. Okay, this is not a situation where I am asking you to list what you learned. To me, that's a red flag when I read that. So I'm just telling you right now. And there's a lot of these, there's like 20 of these. So please know this. And then you also have to read other students and respond. You are required to respond to other students' comments to at least one. Okay. Um, uh, and it doesn't have to be as detailed as what I previously described, but it has to be somewhat thoughtful and lengthy. It's not just like, hey, I like what you said. It's got to be more than that. And again, I am looking for your best writing. It's not a text. It's not a chat room. I am looking for your best writing. I am looking for capitalization. I am looking for your best shot at spelling. I'm not going to mark you down if you have problems with these things, but I want to make sure you are setting a standard of professionalism to the best of your ability. Um, so um, that's most of what I want to tell you now. I will say I have a couple more things. I will tell you that the last digit in your code is Q, the letter Q. So you should have 5, you should have a letter and then a number and then a letter and then a number and then a letter. 5 total digits. Let me explain something that gets people confused is the quizzes. I have decided this semester to set all of the due dates for the quizzes way toward the end of the class. So they're not going to show up on the calendar. And this confuses people, but two things. At least once or twice a week, you need to take it and score well enough to get to the discussion, which will show up on the calendar. So you have to complete quizzes, at least a minimum completion to get to the discussion, but also the quizzes are utterly key to success on the exam. So you should be taking the quizzes multiple times prior to the individual exams. But if somebody wants to take them later to try to beef up their score and increase their score, then I just set the due dates much later in the semester so that Canvas doesn't mark them as late. Okay, so that's why some people get confused about how this works. The quizzes don't have due dates. Why do you have to do them? Because you have to do them at least once or twice in order to unlock the discussions every single week. So that's critical. I will mention one other thing here is these extra credit homeworks way down here. Right now, you'll see them pretty quickly because all these other things haven't been published yet. But these extra credit homework 5 and 6, there are numerous things you can do. I'm telling you right now, there is this thing called the Science Success Center, which will give you full credit for homework 5 and full credit for homework 6 if you complete it. It's a separate study skills class, and you click here for information and you go sign up separately. And once you're done, they will inform me, and then I will give you the credit that you deserve. It's really good for students, especially if you don't feel you're a very strong student in science. If you have enough time, it's about a half hour a week for about 6 weeks, plus a little bit of extra homework time. So act now. you should sign up early right away so that you get some of the best time slots because you will be meeting with somebody and going through these modules. And again, it's about a half hour a week for about 6 or 7 weeks. So that's why I bring it up now. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully that wasn't too long. I appreciate your valuable time. And if there's anything you need to know about me, it is that I love this job and I really want my students to succeed. Um, Even though we're all online, as I said, I will be on ARC campus 2 days a week, Monday, Wednesday mornings. And again, I will be leaving out some printed lecture notes for students that I encourage you to come get. So thank you for your valuable time. Please move on and complete the rest of the orientation so that you can then move on and start the actual class, Unit 1, Module 1. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.